So I became his legal guardian February the 7th. I've had Carell, though, since he was 3, and then he was 6. So I've had him for a while. Yeah.
And were you close with his
Mom.
family?
Yes, so me and his mom. So my 2 daughters and his mom, they're sisters. They're half sisters. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And could you explain kind of what made Carell special? What was his personality like?
Carell just had a openness about him, that smile and those dimples. He just was a loving and caring person. It was always just nothing serious. It was always just enjoying life with him.
Mm-hmm. What kind of things was he interested in? Did he play any sports?
Yeah, so he loved football. Football was his thing. He started playing football in the youth league. He went up, he was playing football with for EC Glass for a minute, then he started playing football with Heritage. So he was really into football. That was his thing. He loved football. Yeah.
And did he go to high school at Heritage? Where did he go to school?
Yes, he was actually going to, he was at Heritage, but he was actually at Fort Hill. Yes.
And being that young, can you kind of say what his personality was like with his friends? What was he like with a young?
Oh, so he loved his friends. He loved to dance with his friends. It's hundreds of videos his friends have sent me of him dancing and them going to the mall, dressing up, like I said, they went when Halloween, dressing up, and him and his friends dressing up. He loved everybody. He did. He had a heart of gold.
Being his legal guardian, what did it mean to you to have kind of a son who wasn't by blood, but he was with you?
That was my boy. That was my son. You know, his mom is Kharrelle Allen, and I tell her all the time, she was my daughter and he was my son. Yes.
And growing up, what was it like?
He was a good child. He was always curious about everything. He always wanted to try something different. Like I said, his main focus when he was young, he always wanted to play football. He played football since he was able to play. Football was just his thing. But he was always a loving young boy. He just like I said, a heart of gold.
And kind of this past week, how have you been feeling?
Up in the air all around, just everywhere. I just can't grasp. We all know that teenagers are teenagers, but never in a million years would I ever expect to get the news that he had been shot. Ever. I wouldn't have thought that.
And tell me about, when was the last time you had spoken with him?
That morning. So that morning we spoke about school because he was questioning whether he had school because school was 2 hours late. So we were discussing should he go because, at Fort Hill they get out at 1 o'clock. So we were discussing, he was like, well, do I go? I don't, because I know when it's half days of school, he doesn't go to school. So it was that morning because I had to be at work at 11. So it was like 9:30, 10 was the last conversation we had.
And that afternoon, can you describe any circumstances?
I don't because I was at work. I didn't know anything until I got the call. Miss Milton, what time did I call you? So it was something. It was like 4ish. I got the call. Actually, his aunt came and got me. His aunt came to work to tell me that he had been shot, and that's all that I knew. Mm-hmm.
Were you able to visit him at the hospital?
Yes, I was. I was able to see him. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you know was it another family member that had taken him to the hospital? Was it his aunt?
I can't answer that one. Okay.
You guys were in the hospital together, were you able to speak with him at all?
Yeah, we were able to talk to him. We was able to speak to him. However, we couldn't touch him, but we could talk to him and give him our love and everything. But we couldn't touch him. Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to having this violence in the city come so close to your family,
Mm-hmm.
ending that, and kind of working with the community to stop this tragedy?
Yes.
And kind of continuing his legacy in a way and honoring that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to encourage, especially the younger folks, to be better?
The thing that we need to happen is the younger folks need to stand. First of all, the parents need to stand up and be parents. And the parents need to hold their children accountable for the action of the things they're doing. If they see their children doing stuff, they need to do something or tell somebody or get help or whatever they need, because a lot of these kids are in bad situations, and as they grow up, and the parents are holding up for them. We can't do that. We have to talk. People have to speak up and say what's going on in the community. There has to be a village to save these children. It has to be. And I talked to one community, and I'm going to actually speak at their group. Yeah, I think it's the 4th Monday of this month. And I'm going to speak because there has to be a lot of changes. A lot of changes has to come. Even with the problem with social services, I feel like there's a gap in there that some things need to be changed when a child is removed from social services. You know, the child is already traumatized when you remove them, so that child needs more support. It's a lot of changes that need to be made in that system. We have to have more people willing to stand up and fight for these children. We need more men to be men. We need more moms to be moms. We just have to be united together. You know, everybody thinks there's a code or you're a snitch. That one thing could save somebody's life. That one thing.
And is there anyone in the community at this point that you guys might have an inkling of knowing who might have done this? Or if not, any message you have for someone who might know something to speak up?
If anybody knows anything, I wish they would just contact the detective on the case and let them know. The only thing that I was told by the detective is that his case is hard because he's going to have to go on forensics because no one is talking. So we really need the community to speak up and talk. Anybody knows anything small, simple, we just need to know, because answers, it's too many unsolved cases. Kingston, the young boy that's killed. Nobody's still speaking about him. We have got to get together to save these children. We have got to. We're losing too many. And the gun violence is horrible. I've never seen 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old children with guns. They're coming from somewhere. If the parents are giving to them, we got to hold them accountable. If the cousins are whoever, we have to hold somebody accountable for this. It has to stop. It has to.
And for kind of any other reckoning with justice, can you speak to what justice looks like for your family?
Well, so the detective did tell me that they are going to do, arrest will be made, but it's going to be a while because he has to go on forensics to prove his case. It's all he told me.
So we could be hopefully seeing
something. Yes, he said when he has everything, there will be a press conference, and then he would release all the information that he has. But right now, he said his hands are kind of tied because nobody's talking.
So how are you feeling right now with the way that it's being handled?
I feel confident with the detective. I do. He told me quite a few things that made a lot of sense to me, and it eased some things with me. Of course, he told me he couldn't give me the answer that I wanted, but he assured me that he will have the answer for me.
Can you speak to how much you'll miss Carell?
Oh my Lord.
Kind of ways that you'll hold him close to your
So I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him because I'm his Ronnie Trent. He would always call me a whole name, Ronnie Trent. He never called me Veronica. It was Ronnie Trent or Grandma. But I'm going to miss that contagious smile when he walked through the door, that dimples, that screaming of my name. Just everything about it. I'm hungry, man. Can we go to McDonald's? I'm going to miss him in a mighty way. Just calling just to see how I'm doing. Just me texting him to just make sure he's okay. I'm going to miss him. Truly, I'm going to miss him.
And celebrating and honoring his life this weekend, can you speak to how many community members have come together and what that means to you to see that support?
So the support from the community has been outstanding. It shows you that he was truly, truly loved. I've had people that I have no idea who they are reach out to me. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. The community, I'm telling you, as with the mayor, the one community, the schools, the counselors, everybody has reached out, his friends. It has been overwhelming. It's so many people, but it makes me feel good knowing that he was so loved. that people saw that love that was in him also. Yes.
And with kind of when we were talking about the younger folks, would you say, have any bad influences or friends that weren't as good? What would you say with?
I'm going to say, I'm going to say teenagers are going to be teenagers. And we know how teenagers can be. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that, but teenagers are going to be teenagers. But in all, he loved all of his friends and they loved him.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other kind of special, unique things about him that you want to speak to, or favorite memories that you have?
I mean, there's just so many in my head with Carell. I mean, it's just something, playing football. When I took him to play football and to do the physicals and watching him practice on the fields, going to all of the practices at his games, just to see the smile on his face that he was able to play. When I met his girlfriend for the first time, when he introduced her to me, and the smile that he was, and he would tell me, I got it. Just him, the love that he had for himself, all of that is going to be remembered in my heart. Yeah. And also the love that he had for his mother and his brother. He greatly loved his mother and his brother deeply. I mean, the love that he had for them was impeccable. I mean, he loved them greatly. Yes. He always would say, don't worry about me, just make sure my brother is okay.
So is that love kind of giving you comfort in this time?
It is.
Has been giving you comfort?
The comfort that I get in it is that I know that he's with God, and I know that he's at peace, and I know that God is going to love him until I can see him again, and I find my peace in that.
Can you speak to what legacy he leaves behind? So
the legacy he's going to leave behind is that, the great smile he had, the heart that he had, and also that I'm going to make sure that his name lives on. I'm going to work with this community. I'm going to make changes. I'm not going to say I'm going to try. I'm going to make changes happen so that the legacy follows his name, that maybe we can save another child from this happening again. I'm going to talk to anybody I can talk to about this gun violence. I'm going to get in the community and talk to the families and mothers that I can. I'm going to these 40 the community, and I'm going to speak every time that I can speak. I'm going to challenge social services on a lot of things that they have done. I'm going to challenge the way they do things. Now, I mean, they have done some good things, but I think it's some things that can change to make it better. So his legacy is going to live on. And I also want to start a fund that I'm going to start to Heritage School where he went, that I'm going to every year give $2,500 to help a troubled child in his name, the Kharrelle Allen Fund, to help another child that needs help.
Is that something that we can highlight, or is that something that's coming?
It's coming. It's going to be done. Okay. I just haven't had, since I'm trying to get through just getting him buried Sunday, and then but it's going to happen. It's not going to be just said. It's going to happen.
Okay. When that comes out, we'd love to highlight.
And I will let you know.
As well, yes. Is there any other kind of emotions that you can speak to going into this weekend?
It's just asking for the community for lots of prayers to get us through, because the family is struggling really hard with this one. This is a hard hit. Just continued prayers, and continued prayers. The prayers are going to get us through.
And it's complicated because I worked with Carell as his school counselor in middle school. And so it morphed into, we agreed on the term mentor, even though I had already set him up with a different mentor. But I was just active, so he was like, all right, I'm going to just call you mentor too. So.
And what middle school was that?
Sandusky Middle School. Mm-hmm.
And so knowing Carell, seeing him blossom into a young man, can you speak to what kind of characteristics you always remember of him? What made him unique?
So it's interesting. He was always very gregarious, loud, and just had full of energy, liked to have fun, liked to play around. And that's kind of how we met, because he was really loud in the halls, and I was like, young man, pipe it down. And he, for some reason, he saw that I cared about him, and so he would just give me a hug every day. He saw me, he would give me a little side hug, and then go into class. And so that's kind of how we started talking, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and develop a relationship with a student and work on some behaviors and, just things of that nature. So I would call him to the office and encourage him that way. And we had this little ball that I had it's like with not gratitude, what was it? Like a thankful ball or something, like you toss it and wherever your thumb lands, you have to do that action. And so we started that out. I got a chance to use it with him. And so it became a little fun game for us. And so that's kind of how it all started. But while I was talking to him one day, it's like I saw this, I don't know, it was like this gold. And I remember saying to him, I was like, oh my gosh, I said, sweetie, you've got gold inside, you're golden. So I called him my golden boy. And he was like, what did you talk about, Ms. Mill? And I said, you're special. I said, there's something in you that is so special that I hope that it can be cultivated, and I hope that everyone gets the chance to see this gold that I see in you.
Would you say
and
that
so,
was like a spiritual life?
I don't know. I didn't really explore it or dive deep that way. I just know what I saw. I would definitely, have a relationship with the Lord, so I would assume that the Lord put it in my heart to say that to him. But it just wasn't, at that time, it wasn't like it was a spiritual message. But yeah, I just saw that and I thought, wow, you're special. And so I just made sure to tell him that every time. And I think he liked to hear that. And so he wanted to hang. And so we would, just while we were in school, and there was a time that he didn't end up at school with me, but I would always make sure to check on him and visit him. And so he just had my heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
he made an impact on me. Sweet kid, funny. He had some behavior issues sometimes, but what I thought was interesting is that, I never saw it. And I was like, am I wearing rose-colored glasses? Like, what's going on here? This kid is, he's great with me. Like, I absolutely love talking to him. He does what I tell him to do. He's respectful to me. I've never had any issue. And so, that's just been my thing. And and I'm the type of person as school counselor that, I love developing relationships with my students. And sometimes, the students are going to act differently when they're with us than they are with others sometimes. And so, but I remember just trying to see it, like, okay, I'm gonna sneak and try to see what others are seeing. And it was very difficult for me to see any issues. Like, he's just a genuine, sweet kid.
Mm-hmm. Is it rare for you to have this special relationship with students? Is that kind of a unique thing that you would say?
Well, the relationship I had with him it was very unique because I've never experienced, it was like a maternal thing. And I've never experienced that with any student. I've been in education for about 21 years. I had some students that I'm close with, I love. Like, I love all my students. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I like to cultivate relationships with them. For him, I don't know what it was, but he was just very, very special. And we would talk about it sometimes because, of course, as he went on to high school, I continued talking with him and mentoring him, and got with Miss Trent once I realized that he was with Miss Trent, and she was willing to have that relationship cultivated. And then I also had another friend, Virgil Moore, who went to church with me, and I thought, you know what? I think this would be a great little mentorship. And so when he was in 8th grade, I actually attempted to set that up, and so I introduced them. Very different personalities, very different people altogether. But Carell trusted me, which he didn't really trust many, but he trusted me, and on the strength of my recommendation, he decided to give Mr. Moore a chance. And so at the time, it didn't work out, but Mr. Moore later on, once I realized that Miss Trent was able to make the decisions for Carell, I said, okay, listen, is it possible that I can connect Carell up with Mr. Moore? And she said, absolutely. And so I said, hey, Mr. Moore, Virgil, I said, are you still open to meeting with that student that I introduced you to? And he was like, yeah, I'm game, let's do it. And so then I made the introduction, and I tell you, it bloomed from there. Like that relationship, I just was so happy to see. And so, that just, I don't know. And he was just a great kid. And I loved him. I loved him very much. like he was a son to me. And so I just remember saying to Virgil, I said, you know, I would do my temperature checks. I'd say, how's Carell? You know, is it going all right? Because like I said, y'all are very different. And he was like, Rebecca, I see exactly what you're talking about. Like, I love him too. Like, he's a good kid, so grateful for everything. Like, just gratitude, just full of gratitude. He's like, sometimes better than my own children, you know, just playing around. And so, and I said, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. He's special. And so then I would check with Carell and I'd say, you know, how's it going, Mr. Moore? You know, I know that y'all are from different walks of life, just different. He was like, yeah, I like Mr. Moore. He's good. He's good people. And then later on, he said, we're like 2 peas in a pod, and, you know, called him his main man. And I love to hear that. You know, they had a good relationship. And so it just made me feel good to have that and hear that. And as we hung out, we would have these conversations. And so I still was able to, you know, try to encourage him to, as you know, when you have issues, like say you're angry or you're upset, you know, I'd still would kind of like talk to him about those things. And so that was really nice to be able to still encourage him.
Yeah. And when was the last time you got to speak to Carell?
So Carell and I came up with we used to just meet sporadically. Like it could be 2 days, 1 week, 3 days, 1 week, you know, 1 day, 1 week, 1 day, next 3 weeks. So we decided to kind of make a more regular meeting. And so I remember having that conversation with him. I said, how often would you like to meet? And he said, twice a week. I said, Carell, now you know you're not gonna meet with me twice a week. Come on now. He said, all right, once a week. I said, okay, so what day do you want to make ours? And he said, Thursdays. So I said, okay, we can make Thursdays. And so Thursday, he and I, I'm sorry. I texted him and I said, I will pick you up at 4:30 because our time is usually 5. I said, I'm gonna pick you up at 4:30. And he told me, Ms. Mountain, hey, can we reschedule for tomorrow? I have something to do today. And I said, I can't make tomorrow because I had plans for tomorrow, so I can't make tomorrow. I said, today's our day, Thursday's our day, come on, let's do this, you know. And he said, I know, but I have stuff to do. And so I said, okay, I said, listen, maybe we don't get together, let's just talk on the phone. Can we, you know, let's just talk. Maybe today is just a phone call. And he told me he wasn't able to talk right now. And I said, okay, well, let's just plan for next week. And that was the last conversation. And that was like maybe an hour before he wasn't able to talk to me anymore. Mm-hmm. So that was that Thursday. And so, yeah, I did have, thank you. I did have a chance to see him at the hospital. So I said, well, it looks like we're hanging out, even though this is not how I wanted to hang with you.
And how long were you able to stay with him that day?
I was very fortunate. I when I was able to go back there, which they were not going to let me go back, Miss Trent allowed me to, because she knew how important that he was to me and how important I was to him. And so when I went back there, I was actually, one of the detectives stopped me and said, no, you can't, no one else is to come back. And so I said, please, I said, please let me see him. I mean, his room is literally right there. Would you please just let me see him? And they were compassionate. And so I got a chance to go in. Of course, they told me I couldn't touch him or anything. And so I did go in and I could talk with him. They said that he could hear. So I said, okay. So I said, hey, Carell, I'm here. Looks like we're meeting Thursday after all. You know, just trying to, I don't know if it makes myself feel better, I guess. And so I said, I'm still here. And at that point, they had shut it down. I think an uncle and an aunt came back. But after that, they had shut it down and no one else was allowed to come back. And I thought, well, they didn't tell me I had to leave. So I said, well, I'm going to stay right here until somebody tells me I have to leave. And no one kicked me out. So I was able to stay there for hours with him. I left around, I mean, you know, you have visiting hours, but I was able to stay beyond the visiting hours. And then that's when I was told I had to leave. So I was there for all night talking and praying and, you know, just calling my people to get them to pray. And because I was still holding on to the hope. I believe in miracles. And so I was like, Lord, you know, listen, I'm not you. I can't I can't make the decision. I mean, I understand it's extremely bleak and the situation, you know, no one would hope for anything else, but I'm just going to hold on to the hope, and I'm going to pray until he can't breathe anymore, and that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I did.
And have he passed away Friday?
So no, this was Thursday night when I was there, and I went home and I told him, I said I'm coming back. I said, Carell, I'm getting ready to go home, but I will be back tomorrow morning. I said, I love you. I told him that 3 times, and then I left. And then I went home, didn't get any good sleep, of course. But I had planned on coming back as soon as the hospital opened up. And so when it did, I was there, and I was the only one there. And I thought, okay, this doesn't feel right. I remember looking down the hall because there was an officer at his door. And so when I looked down the hall and I didn't see anyone there, I saw a chair. And I made it in my mind like, okay, that's an officer, because I didn't want to believe that no one was standing at his door, because that would have made it too real. So I just kind of said, okay, maybe there's an officer sitting in that chair. But at this point, he had already been gone, and I didn't, you know, I just went to the waiting room and sat there, and I said, okay, well, let me just pray, and I don't know, but I had no words. And so then I went to the desk, and they were like, well, we can't tell you anything. We don't know anything. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I went back to the waiting room, and that's when I discovered that he had passed away that morning, so early in the morning.
Yes, he passed away Friday at 2:34. I was with him.
Yeah, Miss Trent.
2:34 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the hospital called me at 2 o'clock and told me that it was close to time. So I went back and talked to him and told him it was okay. And I held his hand until he passed at 2:30. It was a bag. It wasn't his hand.
Right.
He had bags over his hand.
Right.
So he passed at 2:34 in the morning. His heart stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, and talked to him and tell him that I loved him.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's all ultimately healing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can you speak to kind of any emotions you were feeling when you heard the news and now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you have to understand that that's devastating. And so you feel all kinds of emotions. You know, you reminisce, you feel happy, you realize that he's no longer here, you feel devastated, you feel heartbroken, like you're feeling all the gamut of emotions. And so you can't just pinpoint one. Well, I guess you can. One thing I did feel was a hole in my heart, just like heavy, and it hurt. And I just couldn't believe it. So disbelief was big time. I was like, no way. I just cannot believe it. I just talked with him. You know, we just celebrated, his birthday was Tuesday, but so I FaceTimed him Tuesday, the 7th, for his birthday. But then I had that Sunday, a friend of mine who's a baker, she baked him a cake. And, you know, we knew weather was coming, so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and give these gifts before you know, I could, so I don't miss him on the day. So I brought the cake over to the house, and a friend of mine gave him a sweatsuit to give him. I gave, you know, his gifts for his birthday. And so that was the last time that we actually spent time together. And so it was very hard for me to, and it's still hard. It's fresh. It's still hard. You see a picture, you know, it's rough. So, but, you know, I just cherish the moments that we had.
Any other thoughts for continuing his legacy in your life?
Well, this has made a severe impact because I've never felt this close to a student as if he were my own child. You know, Miss Trent and I had a very good relationship as it relates to Carell, and so we would be able to communicate. Like, okay, Miss Trent, this is what I'm going to do. Then we, Miss Trent, you know, and so she and I worked well together as it relates to him. And I feel like, you know, I don't want to see anyone else hurt by this. And I thought, okay, so there are going to be some conversations that I plan on having with various entities. And, you know, at this point, I'm not going to say, but that I definitely plan on having some conversations, and I definitely plan on being part of some community organizations that were mentioned in the when we had the meeting with One Community, One Voice. They had mentioned some community groups. And so I thought, okay, yep, I definitely want to be part of that. And so since I work in the school system, you know, I see a lot of students who could be Carell, you know, who have similar stories. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me start thinking about that too. How might I make an impact as a different impact that maybe I was making prior in the lives of the children that I work with? How might I encourage my colleagues to embrace children? I mean, they do. Please understand, I'm not saying that they do not. I'm just saying, you know, how might we have a conversation about how we can, like, what we can do. So, yeah, I've been having a lot of thoughts about what's next. He was a beautiful boy. He was beautiful. He was, and I'm not just talking physically. Like, his heart was really sweet. You know, things that people didn't know about him, you know, I got a chance to see. He was able to be vulnerable and just a kid. And I love that. You know, he liked to dance around. He had energy. One of the things, cool your body, Miss Melton, cool your body. You know, when some like, you know, I was like, Carell, cool your body, Miss Melton, cool your body, you all right, you know. And so just fun, loving, laughing, smiling child. And so that right there, I'm going to miss, yeah, immensely. Yeah, he's a good kid, lovely kid. And and to be honest, again, I don't know how he ended up being so special to me. He's just special. And then with this tragedy, unfortunately, you know, this unfortunate tragedy, I'm starting to see the impact he made on many people. You know, I'm thinking, oh wow, so the gold did spill out. You know, people loved him, and the response has been interesting, like overwhelming. And the thing is too, you know, I was telling my secretary, I said, you know, I didn't realize that this many people knew that Carell and I were close. And then I got all these text messages and all these calls, and I'm like, oh wow, I guess it was obvious, because, you know, he was my boy, you know. And yeah, and it's been overwhelming too for me. And I thought, wow, that's cool. That's, you know, because I didn't anticipate. I mean, Miss Trent has done the lion's share of things with him, and so obviously she'd be overwhelmed, as she should. And so I said to her, I said, listen, you know, if there's anything I can help with, just let me know, because she knows how dear he was to me too.
So you guys can be there for each other.
Absolutely.
And is there anything else that you want to speak to? I didn't ask about.
No, that's it. I think that's him in a nutshell, and our relationship.
The golden boy.
The golden, yes, that's what I called him, my golden boy.
Well, thank you. Thank you both.
Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch more videos from ABC 13 WSET.